not, based on the preponderance of the evidence and the evidence and testimony, that demonstrates the operation results in threat to health, safety, or welfare of the public. For the gun violence assault, battery, and failure to comply with the approved plan of operation for the premise located at 2438 West Greenfield Avenue, doing business as Richard's Grocery in the 8th Aldermanic District. Written objections have been filed.
The members of the council read the report of recommendations of the license committee as well as the objection filed in these matters. Roll call, please.
Alderman Travis. Chambers. Brower. Solomon. Westmoreland. Jackson. Zaldiva. Taylor. Moore. Alderwoman Moore.
Aye.
Vergelis. Aye. Spiker. Aye. Dimitrievich.
Aye.
Stanford. Aye. Mr. President.
Aye.
13 ayes, 2 excused.
13 ayes, 2 excused. Are any of the following are the council's present, and if so, do they wish to address the common council? Arthur Core. All the persons on my equal who's in the common council resolve and submit to the committee of the whole for the purpose of taking testimony in these matters. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Both sides are limited to 5 minutes and must confine their remarks to the report and recommendations of the committee. Counselor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Common Council. Mike Mason on behalf of the licensing. You have in front of you already details of what my client is willing to do. There's a 90-day suspension of the food and a non-renewal on the beer. I'm not going to go into details about it. It's fairly detailed. I always do these plans that I do them very brief. I try to accommodate all the concerns of you and the police and the neighbors. Alderwoman Collins, I've been working with her for over a week now on this matter, and she can't be here, unfortunately, because she's still planning her celebration of life. She wasn't able to be in the licensing committee who passed away the day before. I can assure you that Alderwoman Collins wants to say that. I think she talked to some of your colleagues already about that. One of the interesting issues is that this person she was on at a 9 o'clock license renewal for her, Class D operating license. And when she came before the committee, it was approved without even probably a warning. She had 6 neighbors that were there to testify on her behalf. But because it was a smoothie at 9 o'clock, she sent everybody home. She was in India at the time. She couldn't be here because she was having some health problems and she needed surgery. So all I'm asking for is a request that you do so again. I'm not just standing up here somewhere. I'm giving you my word that she said that as me. Thank you.
Any questions? Assistant City Attorney Travis
Freshman, Assistant City Attorney Travis Freshman, here to the City Attorney's Office. Before you find tonight, you just follow this matter along with the recommendations of the license committee and answer questions.
Okay, there are no questions. Thank you. Nadir Assad. Is that you again?
Yes, okay. The floor is yours. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, everybody, again. I represent this grocery store wholesale. And you have in front of you the details of a very extensive 6-page plan that we revised. I've been working with the local alderwoman since the licensing committee acted upon this. I've been working with the neighborhood organization VIA. We met with them on Friday. We heard all their concerns and we incorporated everything that they requested into our plan of operation. We also added everything that Alderwoman took out of the request, including sell any more single beers. I think a big deal that the whole and Maripa insisted on that, and so we agreed to do that. There's a variety of other things that we're doing. We're going to do fuses, we're going to attend monthly crime meetings, and whatnot. Put up more cameras, face the street, so we also list and see what's going on there. But I would request respectfully that you renew the beer license. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Alderman Stanford?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Attorney, Mike, you expound on no single beer to sell.
I should correct myself because it's no alcohol beverages. Because I guess there's some alcohol content that might be considered not a beer. So Alderman Zamaripa insisted that we put that language in there. So in our plan, it doesn't say we won't sell single beer, it says we won't sell single alcoholic beverages. She was kind enough because we got $20,000 of products still there to give us some time to get rid of it. I know that that's been done before this.
And is there an ounce percentage associated with that?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Again, my condolences.
Attorney Grisham?
City Attorney Director, Treasurer, you're going to have the City Attorney's Office. You have to believe in finding the fact, which is why we're going to matter on the recommendation of the license. That's your questions.
Questions? Thank you. Alderperson, hearing no questions, Alderperson Samaripa moves that the common council resolve the subcommittee for the purpose of taking, or no, excuse me, that Alderperson moves that the committee will rise, hearing no objections on the order. Are there any motions? Chair recognizes Alderperson Samaripa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have two motions to make. First, notwithstanding the recommendation of the licenses committee, I motion to return the Class A fermented malt and food mineral licenses for Tiku Ramat Food located at 418 East Center Street to committee.
The motion by Alderperson Samaripa is to return to committee. Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Chair recognizes Alderman Brown. There is no Alderman Brown objection. Chair recognizes Alderman Burgellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Did you hear why this should go back to committee? It was a pretty lengthy discussion in committee with the recommendation that is before us. So before I object to the motion to return, I hear why.
Alderperson Samaripa, would you like to answer that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Alderman Burgellis, for your inquiry. We need to give you some context. The alder for the district, Alderwoman Cox, who is here today, did reach out to me this morning. As you know, this business is in her 6th aldermanic district. She did ask for it to be returned to committee. As you know, we recently also had a loss in a coincidence that had passed away very recently. As such, Alderman Cox wasn't able to be in committee with us that day, and as such, is asking the committee to please return this application back to committee, and I don't think that's too much to ask in those circumstances.
Thank you for that. I will not object reference to the
Alderman Stanford, do you have a plan on? That being said, Chair recognizes Alderman Chambers.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. For the record, reflect 5 votes for Alderman Chambers on the report. Any other comments or objections to the motion other than Alderman Brown? Okay, hearing none, so ordered. Alderman, or Alderperson, somebody have another motion?
Yes, I do, Mr. President. I move for the renewal of the Class A fermented malt license renewal application for Richard's Grocery. And I'm happy to give some context on that as well, if I would like.
If you'd like to, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I I do want to point out, and Attorney Hinsman has already indicated, I greatly appreciate the applicant after learning his Class A beer license was non-renewed, went to great lengths to put together a comprehensive mitigation plan that all alders have on their desks right now to review, with Attorney Hinsman pointing out in his testimony that in fact, probably the biggest piece of the applicant's mitigation plan is the fact that he voluntarily has decided to stop selling single-serving alcoholic beverages after selling the existing stock that he currently has. So he has the next 6 months to move that stock, and then he will completely stop selling single-serving alcoholic beverages. I want to thank the applicant for his willingness to do so. That's really a win for our community and for our city when we see a business be willing to do something like that. So with that, again, I move now for the renewal of the Class A conventional malt license and all application for Richards.
As amended.
Yes, as amended with the mitigation plan that is now part of the plan of operation.
Okay, the motion by Alderperson Zabaleta is to approve the license as amended, or that new objection. Hearing none, so ordered. Hearing no further discussion, I would ask for a vote of the common council members to adopt recommendation of the license committee as contained in file number 251756. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwoman Crum. Aye. Chambers. Broward.
Aye.
Holman. Westmoreland. Aye. Jackson. Zalripa. Taylor. Moore. Burgella. Spiker. Dimitrievich. Stanley. Mr. 14 ayes, one excused.
14 ayes, one excused. Will the clerk please continue with the reading of the license committee?
That concludes the reading of the license committee agenda.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Lamont Westmoreland will now present the report of Public Works Committee.
The Public Works Committee recommends approval of 4 motions relating to the recommendations of the Public Works Committee relative to licenses. The Public Works Committee recommends adoption of 5 resolutions authorizing the Department of Public Works to accept a gift from the Daniel Coleman Foundation to fund a route towards roadway condition monitoring pilot. 6, resolution directing the Commissioner of Public Works to execute a document entitled First Revision State Municipal Agreement for a state-led highway project with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the program, design, real estate acquisition, and construction of West Fond du Lac Avenue from North 19th Street to North 12th Street. Set of funds for design engineering with an estimated total cost of $524,100, with an estimated city share of $131,024, and a grantor share of $393,076, and a set of funds for real estate acquisition at an estimated cost of $100,000, with an estimated city share of $0, and a grantor share of $100,000. 7, resolution directing the Commissioner of Public Works to execute a document entitled State Municipal Financial Agreement for a state-led highway project with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the program of design and construction of North 76th Street from Lorraine Place to Feebrant Avenue. The set of funds for design engineering at an estimated total cost of $240,000, with an estimated city share of $60,000, and a grantor share of $180,000. 8, resolution directing the Commissioner of Public Works to execute a document entitled State Municipal Financial Agreement for a state-led highway project with Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the program of design, real estate acquisition, and construction of South Kinnickinnick Avenue from East Morgan Avenue to Fulton Street. Set of funds for design engineering at an estimated total cost of $2,100,000, with an estimated city share of $525,000, and a grantor share of $1,575,000, and set of funds for real estate acquisition at an estimated total cost of $110,000, with an estimated city share of $0, and a grantor share of $110,000. 9, resolution authorizing the city controller to transfer additional funds to the previously established project for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and the city of Milwaukee for cost participation for the design of Morgan Avenue and intersections with 20th, 16th, 13th, and 6th Street, with a total estimated cost increase for the project of $25,000, with an estimated grantor share of $0, and an estimated city share for various locations, and appropriating funds for these purposes, For the city engineering cost estimated to be $115,000, for a total estimated cost of the projects being $250,000. 11, substitute resolution approving construction of non-accessible public improvements at various locations and appropriating funds for these purposes. For the city construction cost estimated to be $12,434,000, for a total estimated cost of these projects being $14,962,000. 12, resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Works to execute a project agreement entitled Cost Sharing Memo of Understanding between the City of Milwaukee's Department of Public Works and the Milwaukee County Transit System for the cost sharing of construction for asphalt surface overlay on North Holly Road and West Wisconsin Avenue in the 10th Aldermanic District. 13, substitute resolution authorizing the Department of Public Works to accept a gift to the Milwaukee Brewers Baseball Club for an asphalt hot box.
Is there any further discussion of the committee report? Hearing none, Alderman Westmoreland moves for approval of the remainder of the Public Works Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwoman Pratt. Chambers. Broward.
Aye.
Westmoreland. Jackson. Alderman Jackson. Zaldiva. Taylor. Moore. Regella. Spicer. Demetria. Stanford. Mr. President. 14 ayes, 1 abstention.
14 ayes, 1 abstention. The committee report is adopted. Alderwoman Money Transit for representative of the Board of Finance. Personnel.
The Finance and Personnel Committee recommends passage of 14, the substitute ordinance to further amend the 2026 offices and positions in the city service. The Finance and Personnel Committee recommends adoption of 15, substitute resolution authorizing attendance of conventions, seminars, and other travel. 16, resolution authorizing the Department of Public Employee Relations to issue a request for proposals for administration of the city's flexible spending and reimbursements and arrangement benefits. 17, resolution authorizing the Department of Employee Relations to issue a request for proposals for administration of the city's prescription drug benefits. Finance and Personnel Committee recommends placing on file the following: 18, an ordinance related to the trustees' confirmation of the head of the Environmental Collaboration Office and the Chief Equity Officer. 19, communication from the Department of Employee Relations related to classification studies or other studies scheduled for environmental for submission action. 20, resolution related to scheduling of cybersecurity training by the Department of Administration, Information Technology Management Division. Report this is Chapter 310 and 18.9, purchase of Milwaukee-made, Milwaukee County-made, and American-made goods. 22, communication from the Office of Controller related to the audit of the Milwaukee Fire Department, Information Technology General Controls. 23, communication from the Office of Controller related to a minimum fund balance policy. 24, communication from the Department of Public Works Waterworks, amended the positions ordinance to add 1 position of water laboratory technician. And the Finance and Personnel Committee has referred to that recommendation. Item 25, a substitute ordinance to further amend the 2026 rates of pay of offices and positions in the city service.
Is there any further discussion of the committee report? Any further discussion? Alderwoman Moore? Jeremiah?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to make a motion in regards to item number 25. I move passage of Common Council file number 251761, substitute ordinance to further amend the 2026 rates of pay offices and positions in city service.
Okay. On that motion, Alderman Regilla?
Thank you, Mr. President. What this motion does is expand the footnote that gives the Fire and Police Commission the authority to negotiate and approve the salary and contract for police chief, and also do that for the fire chief. Those are the 2 positions in the city service that the Fire and Police Commission has the authority to hire fire. The fire chief's contract is up shortly in the next month or 2. Gives the Fire Commission the flexibility to negotiate that contract renewal or not, find a new fire chief. So this has gone back and forth, scheduled a number of times in finance, and there are certainly concerns about the executive pay plan that was adopted 2 months ago. if there are concerns with that, I think it's appropriate to address those and update and correct the transfer pay plan as we would do any other item in committee. Like the hot stick, the fire chief's contract is just about up, and the city needs to have leadership in its public safety departments. We cannot afford to wait to revamp the entire executive pay plan. This is a very, this is a two-position thing.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Spiker.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're passing along an item going down memory lane, just for members who weren't here in January 10th, 2024. Want to provide some context for how this arose. There was this thing called the executive pay plan that moved people's pay ranges in leadership positions to much higher level than they've been before. We can get into the reasons as to why, but there was a perceived for that to happen. That came with a ginormous price tag, which Alder Cox, one of the sponsors of the pay plan, moved to diminish. She did so by making a motion here on the floor. I was here to strip the recruitment rate footnotes out of the pay plan. So there's a document being passed around now that says the executive pay plan at the top. And it shows these new recommended ranges for a bunch of leadership positions. It also includes in there minimum recruitment rates. Those are the items that Alder Cogs's motion stripped away. So, given that action, people would come in at the floor of their now heightened pay range. Well, a funny thing happened on the way to the opera. We missed the biggest one, which was the chief of police. That one had topped out at 161 and changed before. After the executive pay plan, the range was given as 174 to 243. But there was a footnote, even the salary ordinance, that said, by the way, it can be recruited at anywhere in the range. By whom? It's specified. And so the motion that Alder Moore has before us would seek to add clarity there and gift it to the Fire and Police Commission to set where in that range. But the point that committee revealed is Alder Cox's intent, and he said so at committee, so other committee members can back me up on this, was to strip all the footnotes. Because if you're looking to lower a price tag, you don't leave the highest paid position in the city with a $70,000 range. The Fire and Police Commission chose to reappoint the chief early, 6 months early, I believe, and it basically very near the top of the range. That was, I think, parties will acknowledge now, not the intent of both the sponsor, Alder Cox, and folks who voted for it. The idea was to lower the price tag. So Alder Moore's amendment here to the salary ordinance would take the mistake that was made by DER not reflecting Alder Cox's intent and double the fund. So it would extend the wayward footnote that now applies only to the police chief position and say, hey, let's extend that to the fire chief position as well. If it was a problematic action to give the Fire and Police Commission or anyone the authority to hit somewhere in a range, $70,000 wide, it might be thought equally problematic to extend that to another position. And if you don't think so, well, we'll look through the list. One thing we might consider is everybody else on this list who was recruited at the floor of their new pay range. They would have, I think, a legitimate right to say, what about me? Why is the police chief special? Why is the fire chief special? Should I be recruited higher than before? Why are you picking out these two positions? So one thing I want to be clear about is I have no problem with the Fire and Police Commission having a range to choose from. But I think what happened with the executive pay plan is although there were some increases in the pay ranges that were very sensible, very in keeping with other raises we saw elsewhere, there were also the ones that were astronomical. And the reason we might have not thought it mattered is because of Alder Cox's motion that basically reduced everybody to the 430 range. So the situation we sit in now is this. We can either ignore DER's mistake and double it, or we can go back to the author and the other voters in favor of the executive pay plan's original intent, which is a look back at the executive pay plan, or even just focusing on the chiefs for a start if there's some sort of timeliness concern as was expressed. And look at whether those pay ranges should be different than what they are now. FPC should have some latitude. They should not have that much latitude, or we basically cede our authority to determine our budgetary numbers. So I would urge members to reject this doubling of the footnote fund, go back to Alder Cox's original intent, and then make adjustments to the pay ranges in the executive pay plan in a systematic, fair way that we can justify outside the fire and police department to the other dozens of positions listed here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
So I have a motion at the appropriate time. I guess for the parliamentarian, must the current motion be dealt with before we consider the next?
Yes, we do have, there's some comments that we have to talk on the motion.
Very good, thank you.
Alderman Chamber?
Thank you, Mr. President. As one of the three people who did support the motion on January 10th, 2024, and was co-sponsor of the removal file, you are correct. The intent was to remove all footnotes and somehow this slipped between the cracks. However, it doesn't negate the need to make what's right for our firemen. I think that he is more than deserving of getting the same opportunity as his counterpart on the police side, and the current rules that are in place is what's right now. So I will support Alderman Warren's versus motion to support adding the footnote to the fire chief. But I do agree with my colleagues saying that we do need to clean up the rest. I think now it's not the right time. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Alderman Drainage.
Thank you. I think we do need to look at dollars here, because there's been, if it did kind of flip or whatnot, I was part of that too. $183,000, $243,000. So if we're trying to create parity, we should also have some additional transparency. So I just wanted to make sure I put that on the file.
Any further discussion on the motion? Alderman Spiker's motion. I'll just ask committee members that even under the Spiker, it's safe to say that City Attorney's Office was asked about the legality of the initial move to keep the footnote in, or their interpretation was never really answered by them.
Mr. President.
Yes.
My understanding from reading the opinion is their main point was the horse is out of the barn with respect to the police chief's contract. I did not see great clarity on the question of whether FPC has the authority to begin with to do what they did. But given that the contract is signed, there's no going back as it were for the police chief. We have a signed contract.
But the question was asked already, correct?
I did ask the question, I did not see clarity in the answer. People can look at the opinion and see if they see something they don't.
Because Alderman Cox also asked that. On the motion,
Mr. President,
Alderperson Samarino.
the motion is Alderwoman Morris, correct?
It's Alderman Spector's amendment, is the voting. And if that fails, then it goes back to Alderman Moore's motion.
So before us right now is this motion by Alderman Spiker. I don't think I heard him read it. I heard his speech, but did he start by reading it off? I thought he said he had an amendment, but he wasn't sure. For the parliamentarian, I remember he said that.
Alderman Spiker, do you want to read your motion for the record?
So the official motion is, I move to amend Conference File 251761 by amending Part 1 of Substitute 1 to remove the recruitment rate flexibility footnote from the chief of police position. So that's getting rid of footnote 1 under the chief of police, not range and salary. Also move to amend Part 3 of Substitute 1 to pay period 7, 2026, which is in future 17. And further move passage of the policy. But the motion is basically just, as I said, strip the footnote that was originally intended by Alderman Cox. So in favor of it, please yes.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Drainage.
Yeah, on the motion, I think we must take the people, out of this. We go in positions, we do an executive pay plan with hundreds of positions, we included this body, but it wasn't us, because we didn't know we were going to be here. And so when you're looking at filings, I brought up at least 4 or 5 times this item was up. It's my understanding that if we had questions about that increase from $183,000 to $243,000, that lies in the Fire and Police Commission, of course, but where then, if the council allowed that progression in the range, that ability that we're talking about, is giving the ability to move to the highest part of the range. We really couldn't do anything once the contract was negotiated. And if you're okay with that, perhaps we'll say that is the Fire and Police Commission's work, but it does have major financial implications on the city budget. So I definitely agree that the Fire and Police Commission should negotiate, they should have a meeting, they should look at the output from receiving good input. Okay, that I understand, and in fact, I would say you can work with it. We know what the state legislature is doing that. But the financial part is what I'm concerned about. That's a significant amount of money multiplied by the term of that individual, and then we had a pension one. And the same way as we lasers look at every dollar spent, it's significant. And quite frankly, when I look at the police chief situation, it was an enormous increase. And I'm not saying whether I would support it or not. I'm saying that I think I would have liked a little bit more discussion and transparency with the council that does hold the purse strings. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair recognizes Alderman Burgess.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are already entertaining another motion completely separate from what is before us right now in the committee that did not pass under the authority to the finance chair to motion in committee because of our importance that the Fire and Police Commission maintain its independence. Motion before us right now continues to strip authority from the Fire and Police Commission just like Act 12. And this body should not be taking away the responsibility of the Fire and Police Commission, we should be expanding the authority and responsibility of that citizen body that is charged with these two positions in the city service that are the most important public safety positions. So I urge my colleagues to reject the amendment and get back to business and allow the Fire and Police Commission to negotiate for these two positions as they deem appropriate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes, Alderman Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. So we've had extensive conversation, and I want to thank my colleague, Alderman Spiker, for bringing this amendment to the floor because it does provide us some context around what we need to discuss. But what I want to remind my colleagues is that this is sort of a timing issue. There's some decisions that were made unbeknownst to the council's will. And as my colleague has shared, the force has already left the state. We're just in a really critical timeline to get this done so that the Fire and Police Commission has an opportunity to negotiate with our chief, with our fire chief, that frankly wants to also be here in the city of Milwaukee. I've connected, and again, it's not necessarily about him, it's about the process, and that I want to be fair, give him the opportunity to, and give the Fire and Police Commission the opportunity to negotiate. There's still some work. This doesn't preclude the work that still needs to be done. There is some work that still needs to be done. I just would like my colleagues to consider my motion so that we can follow forward. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with actually both sides of the sentiment. Where I'm at right now is we're at Fire and Police Commission moved on the advice from DER and the people. They made the contract offer to Norman, accepted, that's that. And I think that if fire chief, regardless of whoever's in here, deserve that same opportunity. If we don't do that, this is a great example of taking pressure. That's not to say that we can't come back and figure something out with this motion after the fact. It's just saying right now, this is the cards that we dealt with, that we have. And I think that we should vote this down and add, and add the fire chief to the footnote, and then once the Fire and Police Commission do their thing, future chiefs, just know that they won't have the same opportunity as these two individuals have right now. That things may be different. So, I will urge colleagues to do that, and at that point, I will call for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Brief in closing, I've been an assiduous defender of the Fire and Police Commission in the sense of having rulemaking authority. It's lost that authority to no one any favors. But by the argument advanced earlier, we restrict their power if we give them anything less than what they need to recruit the candidate of their dreams. So if the current ceiling would be too low, are we restricting the Fire and Police Commission's authority unless we give them 100,000? That argument is at a too permissive. As any attempt to hold financial exigencies as paramount is seen as curtailing the Fire and Police Commission's power. That seems a stretch at best. I would urge us again, to think beyond the position. If we do give the Fire and Police Commission the authority to go to the moon, as they did with the chief of police, they may go there. And whether or not you were here in the chambers when Alder Cox made her motion, and we as a body made our decision, it is problematic at best to say, oh, that was an oopsie situation, and a department can transgress the intent of the body, and nothing happens. If Alder Cox made that motion with clear intent, which was very obvious given the price tag concern, then we should, at a minimum, restore the intent of the council, and then make moves from there. To do otherwise is to basically say, yeah, if you make a mistake, we're not going to hold you accountable. That's nice. So with that, again, I'd urge us to restore what we tried to do 2 years ago, and then make adjustments to the pay ranges in a systematic, intentional way that prioritizes the budgetary concerns, which are purple. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Okay, the question was called by Alderman Chambers, so we need to take a roll call vote on the question.
I'll withdraw it, I think.
Okay. Chair recognizes Alderman Sanford.
Thank you, Mr. President. What, compensation, what's the difference in the compensation comparison?
Mr. President,
Yes.
on that question.
Alderman Spraker.
So, if you look at the document I handed out saying executive pay plan, you see this pay range for ZX, so the second grayed out line 3 rows down, that the ceiling under, I guess it would be Alderman Moore's proposal, would be the 243,776 thereabouts. So that would be what FPC would be allowed up to. Without the footnote, then we're at the floor, unless, of course, the council changes the pay range, which, so reflection, deep thought, and prayer reveals that, hey, the chief of police and fire chief going forward should have a range that's different than what's proposed. Well, that's a decision we can make as a body. So there's nothing locking us in, I guess, Alderman Sanford, from choosing a pay range that's higher than that would give whoever's recruited, if the current fire chief or someone else, a higher pay than they're receiving now. It would just not authorize the ability to go to the $250,000 pay. So I don't know if that's sufficiently clear.
Alderman Sanford, you good?
All set.
Okay. Chair recognizes Alderman versus Alderman.
Mr. President, I wanted to also hear from the author of the initial motion, Alderman Moore. Just as Alderman Spiker answered the question, I felt like we should have heard from both. We have two motions, right, that we're trying to consider.
No, we have Alderman Spiker to consider.
Right, only because he put it, but only because he basically put it on top of Alderman Moore's motion, right? Ultimately, if this fails, we're going to go to Alderman Moore's motion.
We could hear from her after we go on Alderman Spiker. Okay, hearing, no other discussion on the motion, could you please do the roll call on Alderman Spiker's motion?
On Alderman Spiker's motion to amend, Alderman Pratt. Chambers. No. Broward. No. Bauman. Aye. Westmoreland. Aye. Jackson. Zamaripa.
No.
Taylor.
Gore,
No.
Burgess, Spiker,
Aye.
Dimitrievich, Stanford. Mr. President. Seven ayes, 7 noes, 1 excused. The motion fails. Motion in front of us is Alderwoman Morrison. Roll call vote on that. On Alderwoman Moore's
Mr.
motion.
President, I recall that you said that when we took up Alderman Moore's motion, we didn't have a printed version of it again. Can we read it into the record again?
It is in the agenda, but. Yes, I mean, that's the initial agenda item was adopted. Just read it, you know.
Mr. President, the motion on the table is the passage of Common Council file number 251761, a substitute ordinance to further amend the 2026 rates of pay for offices and positions in the city service.
Okay, roll call, please. On the adoption of 251761 as amended. Alderman Pratt. Chambers. Aye. Brower. Aye. Bauman. Westmoreland. Aye. Jackson. Zaldipa. Taylor. Fish. Stanford. Mr. President. 13 ayes, 1 no, 1 excuse. Does that conclude the finance? It does. Alderwoman Moore, did you have a layout?
No, not anymore.
We did have a roll call on the mayor's report. Do that now. So if there's any further discussion, it would be before going down all over the trade, the adoption recommendations of the finance and personnel committee. With the voting is all roll. Alderwoman Crush. Campbell. Brower. Aye. Bauman. Westmoreland. Jackson. Zaldipa. Taylor. Ford. Burgess. Spiker. Dimitrievich. Stanford. Mr. President. 14 ayes, 1 excuse. Alderman DeAndre Jackson will now present the report of the Judiciary and Legislation Committee. The Judiciary and Legislation Committee recommends 26, adoption of 26, substitute resolution declaring opposition to how federal immigration enforcement activities are occurring in the United States and amending the city of Milwaukee Legislative Act.
Forgive me, that item was not recommended by the committee. The first recommended item of the committee is 27, substitute resolution related to legislative bills. 28, resolution authorizing payment to the claim of Mario Jackson. 29, resolution authorizing settlement in the lawsuit entitled Shakia Higgins and others versus the city of Milwaukee and others. 30, resolution canceling real estate taxes levied against certain parcels bearing tax key numbers of the 2020 tax roll plus interest applicable to date for payment if appropriate. 31, resolution authorizing payment of judgment in Olami, Walker, and others versus the city of Milwaukee and others. 32, resolution authorizing settlement of the lawsuit entitled Alan DeKeyser and Marquita DeKeyser versus Leon Burns and others. And Shared Legislation Committee recommends disallowance and definite postponement of items 33 through 39 placed into the city. Is
there any further discussion of the committee report? Hearing none, Alderman Jackson, move for adoption. Chair recommends Alderman Rowe.
Yes, thank you so much. I would like to,
Alderman Brower, your motion, please. Yes, I move to take council number 2.879. Okay, the motion by Alderman Brower is to take out of committee item 26, which is item of 2.1793. Can we take a roll call on that?
Sure, Alderman Brower. Yeah, thank you so much. Just to speak, the question at hand right now is whether we should consider for adoption this resolution in the moment right now before. So I just want to speak to that, which is that the urgency of what's going on right now with the actions of this amended fascist president, we need to take action today here in the council. There are a few items we can't take action on, we're going to take action on all of them, but this resolution clearly states a set position for our citizens. So I urge colleagues to oppose the less debate the merits of this resolution and pass a conscience-based vote on whether you think this resolution should be adopted by the citizens. This one is whether it's a consider it before us, so if we pass, will allow us to debate it, allow us to take action right now, and we will available to the next meeting.
Thank you. On the motion, Alderman Regos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Was this item already heard in committee? 796 is related to potential uses of emergency communication system. I don't have a copy of it. I'm unclear what we're voting on.
So what's our, I think, Judge, like, it's,
Sorry. Did you get an answer to that?
No, my question was this already heard by committee?
No, it wasn't.
This was not heard by committee. Why was it not heard by committee?
yeah, thank you, please.
Yeah, it does.
That is correct. 793 was not heard by the Commission Legislation Committee. Another file was that I also attempted to take action on this morning, a separate resolution. This resolution, I attempted to prepare it, it should be heard by the committee. You know, it might be a committee there, but what needs to happen right now today, my opinion, is for us to consider this, given that ICE could potentially be right on our doorstep. And that we need to declare that given what's going on in this world and the words we heard in the hours and the productions that are occurring, I urge that we need to take action on this today and not wait for the right. There is a process. We created our county regulations before, and I am following that process as the current, you know, what happened, we should amend our rules to not allow things to be brought before. So I am using the process, given the urgency of what's going on. I think we should make a statement today, and not wait for greater assembly, because I believe there is support for this language before it's set in this resolution. So I think we should take action today to call the city to oppose what's going on with immigration and customs enforcement, and also to oppose the very existence of the abolition of ICE.
Okay, thank you. On the motion,
That was an answer to my question. So thank you for the answer. Mr. President, I would like to ask for unanimous sponsorship of this item and the name to it. This is important. I think it merits
consideration by this body in committee. In committee, we hear from not just members of the council, we hear from the city attorney's office, we hear from interested stakeholders. We have a number of them here in the audience today. That legislative process is important, that we have checked all of the boxes, make sure that we're doing, that we're making our laws and our resolutions, adopting them properly. Has the city attorney made an opinion on this item?
Doesn't have to work.
Has the city attorney provided guidance on this item?
No.
Mr. First, got an
On the motion to take out of committee here on the floor, any other comments or questions on that?
Mr. President,
Chair recognizes Alderman Westmore.
my light working. Not working.
Now it is.
Thank you. I heard from the author that we should take action today. So my question to the author is, what action are we taking today? And how does it stop ICE?
Mr. President, yes, thank you so much. I can respond directly to that. First of all, the action we would be taking today as the body is adopting this resolution. So that's the specific action that we choose to bring this to the floor and adopt this. The reason for that, how does it stop ICE? Well, I believe that cities all across the country, and they already have that, should be standing up, making declarations where we stand. So I like that we're considering this first, because I think this starts the legislative process. It kicks off the legislative process where we can adopt all sorts of ordinance changes and further pieces of legislation if we are given those. But what this will do is make our voices heard and declare that the city of Milwaukee stands up to the way immigration actions are being conducted. On the question of whether, will this stop ICE? No, but a movement around, no, taking this and putting on this will not halt what our president is doing. But taking this action today to be a part of all the voices across this country that are being raised up in the streets, in legislation, letting Congress know how they should be acting, putting pressure on your elected official, and will help to bring the time, a little sweet change in this country. And I don't think we should be immune to that or step away from that. We should make a declaration today, given what the president is doing, given what's happening in Minneapolis, given that there's the front page of the Journal Sentinel just the other day described ICE actions in western Wisconsin. Under normal circumstances, yes, we should send things to a committee and potentially have them held and then held again or whatever. But in this case, given the urgency of the situation with ICE, given the community has spoken out, I held a town hall with over almost 350 people in attendance and other elders from all town halls, and my knowledge from what I've seen, there was a resounding answer when the question was posed, what action should we take? The answer was every single thing that you can, and you need to do it now. That was what I heard from constituents. That's what people have been saying all over the city, of every identity, have been saying that they want action right now, immediately. And so I think that is a signal to me from the city, from organizations, that we should skip the committee process at this point and make a declaration today on where we stand regarding the immigration process enforcement. I can speak, a little bit. I mean, the city attorney has said to me that this could potentially put this, adopting this resolution, calls for the abolition of ICE, could potentially put us on a list of, in Donald Trump's White House, of cities that are sanctuary cities. I am in support of us being declared a sanctuary city. I want to have on that list. Thank you. Thank you.
No, I'm not done. By sending this to committee, are we putting any of our population at risk by not approving this today and sending it to committee? That's for the all.
No, this is not like, delaying this does not put anyone else in more immediate danger, but what it does, by delaying this, is not conceivable ways that appear that we, as a body, take a stand, and that people today can find out that the council has very first opportunity to take action on some of the pieces of legislation. Frankly, there's multiple pieces of legislation, and I saw packaging, there's a separate communication file. I've sat down every single day, and I think we should, move forward with all of it. So this is just one piece of what's going on. So now I'm not putting anybody else in more deflated, putting anybody else in more immediate danger, but when you're building a movement, you need to act with a sense of urgency, and we need to tell the president and our federal electeds and anybody who listens to that this is not welcome here in Milwaukee, but what's going on federally is completely unacceptable, and that it needs to stop immediately. And the committee has said that they want this taken up immediately. As much of this legislation as possible, I've heard from people, they want this taken up. I know that some people haven't heard that, but if you haven't heard something from your constituents have remained silent, and perhaps our communities where constituents have remained silent, what that means is, as the elected leader of that community, we expect you then to make a judgment call based on your judgment, what you're seeing as an elected here in Milwaukee. So I really appreciate these questions. Honestly, because I think it clarifies what we're trying to do. We want to make a public stand, and we should make that public stand today. And so that's what voting yes on this accomplishes. Voting yes on the procedural motion. There's two motions that are going to happen. One is going to be this first procedural motion, which will allow us to debate this. And then the other one will be a motion on adoption. That will be permanently adopted. So if you want to debate this further, you can vote yes on this motion.
Well, thank you. I just want to urge colleagues that they have not received an email from the city attorney in relation to file 251793 at 1016. I urge you to take a look at it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes, and this is on the motion to bring this out of committee and debate this on the floor. Alderman Spiker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to clarify, if the motion fails, it is in July.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I guess following up on my colleague on Alder Westmoreland's comments, there is an attorney-client privilege that I sent email to members stating a concern that the city attorney has that has fairly major repercussions. So I would urge at least the discussion with our city attorney about those repercussions, and then members decide, hey, I'm willing to take that risk, or I don't want to take it. So I would support it staying in committee so we can have that full discussion, and then people can decide if that risk is worth it or it's not. And it's an informed discussion as opposed to not having the advantage of our city attorneys in the recommendations.
Chair recognizes Alderman Madrid.
Thank you. These files are not subject to a legal and enforceable review as they are not court ordinances. They can have both ways. Appreciate the information, but this is not required. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Buckman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for support taking this to committee today. Mainly because I've seen a few issues in my term on the county council, which have generated much public interest and frankly public engagement as this issue has. We have to go back to some of the police shootings that we've had in this community and perhaps the murder of George Floyd to see similar levels of public engagement and public interest. Our citizens are looking to us to take some action in response to their very legitimate concerns and frankly the action that they have demonstrated around this issue. And I think this is a way of doing it, of exercising leadership. Yes, it's unlikely adding this to our legislative package will result in defunding or abolition of ICE. I think everyone in this room recognizes that is a tall order, and that's actually only the Congress of the United States can pursue, if even they can pursue it. But nevertheless, I think delaying this for a committee hearing that we're unanimous about this. I mean, Alderman Gellis calls for unanimous sponsorship. Well, if there's unanimous sponsorship, what's the point of having a committee meeting? Other than adding 3 weeks to the process. And in the meantime, our citizens are wondering, what the hell are you guys doing down there? You all agree with this. Why not just act on it? Why not just pass it? Let's work. And I agree with that sentiment, so I do support taking this to a committee and then moving it on.
Chair recognizes Alderman Spiker.
I would urge members to look at this email, look under file 251953 and read the last clause in the last sentence. So there is a consequence here that goes way beyond what we might just comfortably say, that's a small price to pay. If that's real, that is a real consequence of an urgent that I've done. So I have no problem with endorsing the sentiment unless it has consequences that have real-world application to our ability to function as a city government. So I'm not going to get into the attorney-client privilege stuff, but there's a real consequence laid out there that I think it would not be as responsible as I'd like if we don't at least hear the city attorney's case for saying that consequence is linked to our action today. Thank you.
I'll ask the sponsor, is this the first time you're hearing from the city attorney to take call?
Mr. President, I am seeing legal from the city attorney, regarding, that's what I addressed, actually, this concern is what I addressed. And we see attorney, right here, addresses the concerns I had previously brought forward, the language the city attorney has shared, which is that, this could list us as a sanctuary city. That is a risk, and that is a secular attack, sanctuary cities.
It already is.
I think the benefits of declaring to our neighbors that we are sanctuary for them outweighs the risks here. I really do think we can declare sanctuary in the city of Milwaukee, and so that, if that's what this really does, this resolution does not affirm to say that we are a sanctuary city or have any ordinance implications other than we want ICE abolished. So that's, I'm seeing the same thing.
My question was, if you heard it, if you got any feedback before today, exactly that. That's right. That's correct. That's what I should say. Thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Bachman.
First, I saw that 1016 was there was an email that turned out to be that it's just arrived in our inbox. And the reason I looked at the possibility that if we call ourselves a sanctuary city, somebody in the White House might get angry about that. Like, would fine, Chris, which we can respond to very legitimate demands of thousands of constituents who are looking for action leadership.
Chair recognizes Alderman Spiker.
I'm sure people are reading the same email I am. So the sanctuary jurisdiction, the concern the city attorney has is a consequence of that. So again, I appreciate the members have been circumspect in not saying what the consequence is, but that has to be discussed because that would have wide-ranging ramifications. And I'm not saying that we have to give in. It has not been discussed. It is something we will have a discussion in closed session, but we can't do that here on the floor.
We read our sanctuary.
Chair recognizes Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to reiterate what Alderman Dimitri stated in the city attorney's email. Files are not subject to a legal and enforceability review, as they are not ordinances. This is an opportunity for our city. This is an opportunity for our city to put people first. We make a lot of decisions based on what could happen and what could not happen. There has to come a moment where we put a stake in the sand and say we're going to put people first. As the only immigrant sitting here on this council, the only immigrant sitting here on this council, if we don't take a stand for people right here in the city of Milwaukee, I don't know who else is going to. This is something for me personally that I live in a city and I want to know that people are standing up for me.
Yes, yeah.
Period. So I'm thankful to Alderman Broward for his leadership on this and for pushing us to do things that sometimes it's not comfortable. Right? There's a lot of things that could or couldn't happen. Our constituents are looking for us to be leaders. And I think Alderman Bauman, said some really, really great points. This is a moment. This is a moment for us, and I say we'll take that moment to put our constituents and our residents first.
I see no lights on, let's take a roll call vote to do exactly that. Let's take one at a time.
On the motion to take file 251793 from committee, Alderman Pratt. Chambers. Brower.
Aye.
Bowman. Aye. Westmoreland. Aye. Jackson. Zaldivar. Taylor. Moore.
Aye.
Regalis. Spiker. Demetriou.
Aye.
Stanford. Mr. President.
Aye.
14 ayes, 1 excuse.
We have in front of us, the item now that is out of committee for us to vote on. I will say that this is an amendment to the legislative package. And, as many of you know, several of the members are going to DC for the NLC. And I think it's very important that we have this package amended as we go on before our congressional reps. So I want to thank you for your leadership on that. We have a motion before us on that. Alderman Brower, do you want to start? Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues, for allowing us to make this. I do appreciate it. Truly. I want you guys to recall Senator Malone. Milwaukee resident, MTS employee, and union sister of mine who last year was ordered by ICE to leave the country and go to El Salvador, even though she had a pending application for visa to citizenship. We were all appalled by what happened in this area. But her story is not far from me. It's also far from the worst case of ICE abuse. Across this country, ICE agents are routinely detaining people as they show up their permission to appear. They're deporting refugees with iron because they're unsafe in their former home countries. They're targeting people who follow the legal process and have no criminal record. We're still, they're breaking into people's homes without a warrant to haul them away. They're arresting people and shipping them halfway across the country to be kept in hastily converted warehouses. They are detaining children as young as 5 years old. ICE is keeping people in unheated cells, with no beds, forcing them to sleep on concrete floors. And they have murdered American citizens. We're trying to hold agents to account for their illegal actions. So I'd like to see how people do. When I see things like this happen, I'm reminded of a story that happened just a few blocks from here in Cathedral Square. There on March 11, 1854, a crowd of hundreds gathered around Joshua Glover, an escaped slave who sought refuge in Wisconsin. Glover had been arrested and detained under a law called the Fugitive Slave Act, a federal law passed in 1850, which required officials and citizens of free states to cooperate with slave catchers and bring escaped slaves back to plantations. They fled. They led this righteous anger. This law led to righteous anger among abolitionists and citizens of free states, and Milwaukee was no exception. The crowd demanded Glover's immediate release, and when they were ignored, they broke him out of prison here in the city. This did not go unnoticed by our state government at the time, who stood by Glover and the abolitionists who freed him. Later that year, the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that the state had no duty to enforce the Fugitive Slave Act. In 1857, the state legislature passed a law forbidding state officials from enforcing the federal law, and I bet there was a lot of legal opinions on that matter as well. Right, but in his decision, the Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Abram Smith said, this law, the Fugitive Slave Law, is a wicked and cruel enactment. Let the federal government return to the exercise of the just powers conferred by the Constitution, and very few, be found to disturb the tranquility of the nation. But until this is done, I solemnly believe that there will be no peace in the state of the nation. But that agitation, acrimony, and hostility will mark our progress. I am honored to be a lifelong Wisconsin, a state that has a record of standing against the capture and detention of people whose only crime was insisting on their own rights and freedom. And I intend to carry on that legacy. I have heard so often that we can follow the process, follow precedent, follow procedures, and all the while ICE repeatedly ignores due process, ignores precedent, and institutes their own procedures which violate the Constitution. Every day that goes by without us taking action is yet another day where people in the city are at needless risk. It is yet another day where someone like Yesenia, who is following the proper legal procedure, can be taken away. It is yet another day where immigrants, residents of the city are forced to feel unsafe. We can't wait any longer. There's already going to be pieces of this package that will go through the committee process. Let us adopt this today, take action, and take a stand for this city. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Alderman Vergellis. Mr. President, I almost forgot what I wanted to say. Just for clarification, I did not ask for unanimous co-sponsorship. I asked for unanimous consent to be acted as a co-sponsor. I think this is important. This is clearly going to pass the debate. This is clearly important to our community. I don't know if I've had anything with more email inbox comments in my legislative career. This is important to our residents, this is important to our council, this is important to our city, and I'm proud to stand up and vote yes today.
Thank you. The chair recognizes all those in favor.
Thank you. I'll be brief here. I just want to make sure I say thank you to all our colleagues here. For those watching, many are watching. Many are watching. They're here today, and I appreciate that. They're watching. Over 300 people came out. Probably would have been more who we captured. And not only did they speak out and talk about wanting us to act, they took action themselves, and actually over 300 people were trained that day on how to stand up for their neighbors. That's what this moment is about. And I thank our colleagues for, honestly, I want them to understand, making an exception to the process. Sometimes it's okay. It's okay to say thank you for that legal information. It's okay to take a break from process because we're in unprecedented times. None of us who were elected locally ever thought we'd see the federal government do what it's doing to local cities and municipalities and their families. So the only response is one that rises to the occasion. And for our colleagues to unanimously allow an exception to this process, I truly thank you. And you've been there every step of the way, and we still have more of a process to go. There's still more of this package. And I have to mention that yesterday, we also had a victory. The Milwaukee Police Department decided to actually modify their own standard operating procedures to not allow patient coverings within the police department. So little by little, that is what this moment is about. Is that one person, many people, many calls, many committees, we can rise up to a moment that feels really overwhelming. And what I heard on Sunday, Mr. President, at my meeting, was that people wanted to be in the community, they wanted to be alongside one another, and they wanted to be heard. And they want to feel like even in overwhelming, dark times, there is light. And that I believe is shining today. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I see no further lights on, so we can take a roll call on item 26 about 2517.
On adoption, Alderman Pratt, Chambers, Brower,
Probably aye.
Allen, Westmoreland,
Jackson.
Salariva, Taylor, Moore, Vergellis, Spiker, Demetrievich, Stanford, Mr. President, 14 ayes, 1 excuse.
14 ayes, 1 excuse. Hearing none, Alderman Jackson moves for adoption of the recommendations of the Judiciary and Legislature Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Jackson, Salariva, Taylor, Moore, Vergellis, Spiker, Demetrievich, Stanford, Mr. President, 14 ayes, 1 excuse.
14 ayes, 1 excuse. The committee report is adopted. Alderman Scott Spiker will present the report of the Public Safety and Health Committee.
The Public Safety and Health Committee recommends passage of 42, an ordinance relating parking controls, 43, an ordinance relating traffic controls, 44, a substitute ordinance relating to the creation of the Department of Community Wellness and Safety. The committee recommends adoption of 45, resolution authorizing the Milwaukee Fire Department to amend the private ambulance service provider agreements for emergency medical services in certain areas of the city of Milwaukee. 46, resolution approving an agreement between the Milwaukee Police Department and Milwaukee World Festival regarding extra duty police services. The committee recommends confirmation of 47, appointment of Terry Scott to the Milwaukee Commission on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault of the Mayor. 48, appointment of Sharon Perez Warren to the Milwaukee Commission on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault by the Mayor. 49, appointment of Matthew Carpenter the Milwaukee Commission on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault by the Mayor. 50, appointment of Eliza Mueller, the Milwaukee Commission on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. The committee recommends placing on file item 1, communication from the Department of Administration relating to its Vision Zero annual report. 52, communication from the Traffic Police Commission relating to standard operating procedures.
Is there any further discussion of the committee report?
Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much. I would like to make a motion regarding item 41. I move to take common council file number 251-801 from committee.
Okay, motion by Alderman Roberts to move that out of committee. On the motion, Chair recognizes Alderman Spiker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to read the results clause of that one. So if I'm reading the right file, this is the one that resolves by the council of the city that members of the MKE are called upon to protect the rights of community members who engage in the Constitution and practice assembly and intervene to protect community members of anyone, including other law enforcement agency personnel, attempts to abridge the public's constitutional rights. So this is a resolution. It would not go to the SOPs affecting how MKE does business. Trying to figure out the relationship.
That is correct.
Okay, so we resolve that they shall do this, but without touching. Okay.
They're urged to do it. Chair recognizes Alderman Roberts.
Yeah, thank you so much, and that's a great observation. Spiker, yes, this is a resolution. So once again, we are with this, moving, joining us on this motion to bring it before us, allow us to adopt this resolution here. And yes, I can confirm this is a resolution. I do intend in other pieces of legislation to modify standard operating procedure of the Milwaukee Police Department to compel them to do things like this. I'm going to fight as hard as I can to compel our police to not stand by when ICE terrorizes this city. This is merely, at this point, a resolution where we make a stand and make a statement about where we want the police department to be as far as active in this city. And I think one of the questions a colleague of mine here on this body made, I thought was one of the most astute comments about policing that I've heard in a while, which is that the question really is, who do the police have their backs? Not who are they backing up, but who do they have their backs? When the police are protecting someone, they turn their back on them and they face the aggressor, right? Even when they begin a major operation, will the police, when they arrive on the scene, will the commanding officer instruct the police, or will the police of their own volition have their backs towards the protesters, or their backs to ICE? Who are they going to be protecting? Let's start the directives and the SOP modifications that compel them to protect our people and not ICE agents when they come here by adopting this resolution. I just want to make sure that that's
clarification, I do intend to make other SOP modifications, but there is one other package, and the second one that I am co-sponsoring, and actually the third one as well. There are packages, those are not being considered today. I think what this body has the will to do today, this body has the will to do is adopt these two resolutions and really start on a great footing the legislative process for everything else. So this declares our intent to protect our citizens and our residents, excuse me, and protect their rights when they are exercising them, if and when there is a major acceleration.
All right, thank you. I'll remind everyone, this is not a motion to take out a committee here today. Mr. Spiker?
Yeah, I guess the question of the intervention that's being urged here is salient. I thought that would be worthy of a committee discussion, but again, if this isn't affecting SOPs, that business, I guess, can be moderated.
Okay, the motion before us, as you know, lights on, is to take this out of committee and hear it out before. Roll call, please.
Item 41.
Yes.
Alderwoman Craig. Chambers. Broward.
Aye.
Coleman. Westmoreland. Jackson. Zamaripa. Taylor.
This one, I have a little bit of an issue with, so this one,
Moore. Aye. Vergillis.
Aye.
Spiker.
Aye.
Dimitrievich.
Aye.
Stanford.
Excuse.
Mr. President.
Aye.
12 ayes.
Two excused. Before us, item 41, any discussion on item 41? Resolution. Alderman Broward. Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I'll just reiterate some of the comments I made earlier. This will allow us to stay our position. We want our police department to be doing every single thing they can to protect residents of Milwaukee. I've had some productive conversations so far with Milwaukee police to discover ways. And some of those conversations have resulted in agreement, so that we may come to a point where we need to push them. This starts those conversations, this declares where this body stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Alderman Vergillis.
Thank you, Mr. President. The South Side had a neighborhood meeting last week as well, and hundreds of people came out, expressed their support for the city to do whatever it can and whoever it can. And I do want to point out that the Department of Public Works put a sign outside of City Hall that says caution, falling ice. And I think that's a prelude to what's happening in the chamber today. What we've seen nationally is that federal law enforcement has broken conventions of policing and conventions of keeping the public safe. When I ran for office, my constituents have always told me that public safety is number one. Public safety and keeping our residents safe. This resolution does just that. It encourages that law enforcement here locally protects residents. So I am honored to ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor to this item. Thank you, Mr. President.
The record reflects co-sponsorship of Alderman Vergillis. Chair recognizes Alderman Taylor.
for this one, yes, we did get, a legal opinion, and yes, I think my, colleagues were doing, I think, when we're talking about changing the SOP, we want to create realistic expectations, for the public, and so I think we need to be a little more cautious.
This isn't.
Well, this isn't,
It's the resolution.
okay.
Okay.
My,
Chair recognizes Alderperson Somebody.
Thank you, Mr. President. And actually, to Alderman Taylor's point, I didn't Alderman Miller for putting this forward. I understand the consternation that's been, that some of my colleagues have today. I also bemoan an immediate adoption. I prefer to let the sunlight shine on our pieces of legislation, to allow our constituents to weigh in, to allow our colleagues to ask questions and dialogue from city departments. But I can understand, as you can imagine, the urgency that Alderman Fowler shows by wanting to push these two, again, symbolic measures forward. I served, as you know, Mr. President, for a decade in the state Census State Assembly before coming to City Hall, and I can recall being in the room with my caucus and being the only member of my caucus that was pushing for pro-immigration policy. And so to be here today and hear from so many allies, and to be surrounded by so many allies, I remember, again, being the only one in the room wanting to push this issue. So I appreciate the dialogue today, and thank being out there, pushing this forward. I thank my colleagues for being willing to hear it, and I look forward to voting yes on this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Spiker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess touching on Alderman Taylor's point, this is a resolution saying we call upon MKE to do this, but the SOP changes where they would actually be required. So for me, this all hinges on the word intervene, and maybe species that are totally reasonable, keeping with the guardianship role that we expect of our officers. But I want to be careful and not set up an expectation that we have our officers pull a weapon on somebody else with a weapon who thinks they're entitled. So I don't want to suggest that by supporting this, one would support an SOP change of that specificity and potential danger, both with respect to the officers, but with respect to the community that's grown that sort of action. So, because the word intervene is, as I said, nebulous, I would wait till the SOP change was being proper.
Chair recognizes Alderman Taylor.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that, when we're talking about the SOP, we're looking at number 40-251799, but the one that is before us is the 251809, right, number 41. Okay, so for that one, then I voted no, and I actually looked at the other one, so for that one, I'll change my vote to no.
The record reflects Alderman Taylor's Chair recognizes Alderman Brown.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. President. Yeah, no, there's, the question of, I don't even know where to ask this question, the question of to what extent do we expect our police is regularly be asking, and we'll be asking every legislation also that was brought up. I want to state the claim right now that our police need to be expected to do more than nothing, like in other departments across the country. We expect that from our officers who have put, who came both to protect our residents. And so that's in my mind, what they said. Intervening has, like all the fighters said, intervening has a lot of different meanings. Intervening has so many different meanings, but at the very minimum, they need to do more than nothing. Just in certain cases, in other cities, they're standing by and throwing their hands in the air and saying, oh, well, it's a federal agency, they can do whatever they want. That is not correct. If a USPS driver, a postal service driver is driving drunk on the street, they'll just say, oh, you're a federal agent, they can do whatever they want, they can do whatever they want. You know, we lost them. Right out loud. So I just want to say opinion here that we need to have a minimum level of expectation for the conduct. And I do believe that the police agent is violating our statutes, especially our criminal ones. They should be arrested by our police departments. That's not what this resolution says, but I do want to state that. For the record, that is my personal opinion. what this resolution does is offer them this word to intervene. I just want to encourage them, I think legally should be more than just nothing. They should at least say something. At the very minimum, they should at least say something. You know, if we pass the other ordinances that are in our package, they should inform my citizens that they can't be masked. They should inform my citizens that they can't be blocking traffic. That they need to have like other cities license plate, one license plate in front of the vehicle, one license plate in the back. If they are even putting license plates on there, I know that's a big issue in our city. They need to be informed that they're violating our laws. At the very minimum, they need to inform them. So that's, the spirit of this resolution is to state claim that we want them to do rights. And I'm aware that, like, there is no federal law, case law established that affirms the duty to protect civil rights by our police, but I would like them to protect people in their lives. And so I think that's what this accomplishes. I think we'll explore more about what we can accomplish with further legislation.
Chair recognizes all those in the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I had the honor, as well as Alderman Spiker, to attend the last Friday evening class. They always give out a little pamphlet, and on the back of it, it always has the name of honor. I'm going to do that to you all today. This is our community of honor. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution, protect my community, and accomplish the mission of the Milwaukee Police Department. I will demonstrate competence, have courage, be a person of integrity, exhibit leadership, show respect, and act with restraint. This is my solemn vow. And as a conversation of my colleagues have shared, this is a symbolic gesture. This is an opportunity and a moment for us to symbolically say, who's going to protect us? Who's going to protect the residents of this great city? Outsiders, insiders, do wrong. We have a high level of expectation for the people that are supposed to serve and protect. And that's where this council comes in. To have that, I love the word symbolic, to have to show that symbolic gesture that this doesn't necessarily put teeth in it, right? Until we open this microshare that there's some other things that needs to be done with changes. There have been many forums that hundreds of people have shown up and expressed their concerns. This is a moment for us, colleagues. Let's be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Alderman Sanford, would you like to comment or no? Okay. Chair recognizes Alderman Taylor.
I just wanted to speak to what's being said. I think it's not, I don't want to say the police don't do anything. I don't want to paint that picture that they said I can do absolutely nothing because they do have a code of conduct that they have to adhere to. So when we talk about intervening, I just, under my opinion, that we don't want to just leave it as a plain statement and say, without explaining what that intervention can actually look like. Because again, as I was about to say earlier, we don't want to set unrealistic expectations of something that they can't do based on the code of conduct that they have to adhere to.
Thank you. The vote before us is item 41 of 801. Do you want to take something on the board? Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate that. The whole thing is that I just want to clarify that when I was speaking to Carol was speaking to about the
there's nothing I've seen in other jurisdictions, when ICE has been present. And I just want to make a comment, about our process. I just want to challenge colleagues a little bit about, the process we have here at City Hall. We have meetings that start at 9 a.m. on work days. Parking is terrible around here. I just want to challenge a little bit that, like, what we do here in this building is accessible. But what we do, what we as owners do, as other elected officials do less of, we do is very accessible. It is extremely connected. More than any other type of elected official out there is our community meetings, town hall. People more community meetings, I think bars, restaurants, and likes than any other elected officials that I've seen in my career in politics. And so that is a way we can hear their voices. Or make their voices heard, excuse me. And when they have town halls and meetings, like the Southside Alders did, like Alderman Green Creative, like we did in the 3rd District, people that resoundingly said that they want this passed, they want this stuff passed as soon as possible. I'm hearing from my colleagues here too that the other piece of legislation that they're keen to get those heard. I really do appreciate that. Let's move with urgency with the other piece of legislation. I felt there was this urgency at the very minimum, and we have that proceeding that when as I was yesterday, and we have that minimum of starting the season. So I just want to be clear with that our process has shown that to do it.
Okay, before us is item 41. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Item number 41, Alderwoman Craig. Chambers. Broward. Bauman. Westmoreland. Jackson. Zamorino. Taylor. Moore. Vergillis. Spiker.
Going into the ambiguity and would intervene, I would say.
Dimitrievich. Stanford. Mr. President. 13 ayes, 1 excuse, and 1 abstain.
13 ayes, 1 excuse, 1 abstain. Committee report follows adopted. Is there any further discussion on the rest of the report? Chair recognizes the vote is Spiker.
Item 44, I would move to amend file number 250953 by eliminating the phrase community health, instead inserting the phrase community wellness in section 345-1, subsection 1. Further, the passage of 1 file is amended. This takes care of a concern from the city attorney's office that the safety department of community homes and safety not transgress certain restrictions in state statute, which gives the health department control over health. Health and wellness, be aware that concern. So this is basically our city.
Any questions or comments about the implemented by Alderman Spiker with the policy Chair recognizes Alderman Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very good. My state appears to be to the chair. This become a perennial issue over the years. Our professors choose to immense amount of police resources. Oftentimes during the summer activities and crime fear and safety issues in the neighborhood are summer, Summerfest, June, July, campaign. This was a discussion about adequate police officers that play a lot of hours, motorcycle officers the same, supervisors, $8 an hour, 10 to 18 minutes. Was there any discussion about the efficiency of that compensation due to the opportunity costs that was fiscally represented for the city police resources?
Frank, you recall?
So, Alder Gales shared that item, he also raised the excellent point, that new employees in the police department, and I'll call it under WRS, so there is touches, it's a very excellent point to raise, and touches on some older, he was chairman.
Maybe we can send this back to committee, we have 20 minutes, or?
Okay, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Alderman Gillis.
Thank you, Mr. President, to fill out my recollection and if we may be wrong. I thought we referred this to finance personnel so that we get an answer on the concern that we covered during the meeting. Lots of good things happen in the debate. Sometimes questions are answered, sometimes new questions come up that still needs to be resolved, and that latter is what is before us. This item is all that we for item 46, the finance and personnel.
Okay, motion by Alderman Gillis is to send it to committee at 46 for discussion. Okay, objection to that motion? Hearing none, so ordered. Any further discussion of the rest of the committee report? Chair recognizes Alderperson Zalata.
Yes, I would like to object.
Alderperson Zalata, report.
Gonna be heading out.
Hearing none, I'll start to look for adoption of recommendations for 2016. And also leave the report to the roll. Chair recognizes Alderman Stanford.
Vote, please, have your vote.
Oh, for item 41? Okay. The record reflects an aye vote for Alderman Stanford, item 41, from roll call on the
Yep. Quick. Oh.
Here, I'll take the photo. You got everybody in there? Let's put your fists up. You say ice out.
Ice out.
All right.
Oh, so can I have one? And I'll credit you. Who should I, is this Milwaukee DSA today or just kind of ICE coalition?
Most of them are TSA folks. I think I saw an ACLU sign there.
Yeah, I didn't know who we were.
Can we join you guys? Can we join you guys? Okay, we
All right.
credit.
So let's all go.
Oh, wow, you look beautiful. Sorry, I see.
Oh, it's good.
Someone's got to do it.
It's a historic vote.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Congrats, over here. 1, oh, this is my calendar. 1, 2, 3. Hey. I actually like that from different places.
You guys should send that to TV and Journal Sentinel's,
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
they'll use it.
You're welcome. Yeah. Right, yeah. If you want,
Just make sure everyone's gonna be, everyone's gonna be, this
Well, there you have it. Historic voting.